Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Film Club podcast, where every month we pick a new theme and we talk about movies that we love and that you might even like too. I'm Dean, joined by my lovely co-host.
Somebody. I don't know who.
Somebody. She doesn't know. How you doing, Miss Boo?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
Well, I know you're probably more than good today because this month is kind of centered all around you.
Only slightly. I get to pick all the movies this month for our anime month. That's right. We're doing all anime films all month long.
Our second annual anime month.
Yes, our second one. And we started off with a Miyazaki film, a Studio Ghibli film. One of the more popular ones.
And one we both haven't seen before.
Yes, we're watching Howl's Moving Castle. And definitely not what I was expecting, but I liked what I got.
What were you expecting?
Because I didn't really know a lot about it. I knew it was like a quote-unquote like war movie, and it was like, you know, a fancy mystical world that's basically half of Europe, half of Japanese like folklore. And I was like, oh, we're gonna have like a Miyazaki army movie, and that is not what we got. This is like an anti-war film that's also a kids movie. But yeah, I'm happy with what we got. It's an incredibly imaginative movie.
Yeah, very imaginative, very fun, very deep.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of theme and a lot of chew on the movie. The one thing I will give, it's the only strike I can ever give this movie, is I thought it was like a hair slow. I thought the pacing was a little slow. We get a lot in the first 10 minutes, and then it slows way down, and we kind of get drip-fed the rest of the plot.
But you love slow movies.
I
you love
do.
watching paint dry. I mean, I felt like the movie wasn't that slow.
It might have just been me, you know, because I watched this after I got out of work. It was a little late. I was dying. So, you know.
Like currently?
Yes, like currently. For anyone who's wondering, I think I caught a bit of the death plague, but I think I'll be good. I'll be better next week, I swear.
He's fine.
Totally fine.
I think you need a Dr. Pepper.
Maybe. Not sponsored by Dr. Pepper, at least not yet.
But we should be.
Exactly.
Well, I'm going to take a sip of mine, and let's get started with the movie. Where do you want to start?
Well, why don't you give us the elevator pitch for everyone out there? What is the movie about, like broadly?
Okay, well, the movie is about Sophie, who works in a hat shop.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, it's her family business, and her sister's kind of like, hey, you know, move on from the family business, be your own person. And Sophie's like, you know what, I feel closer to my dad, so I'm going to pursue this. And during a break, she meets Howl when she's being harassed by two soldiers that are welcomed back into the country because there's war going on.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, just this brief encounter with Howl is kind of like, this wizard is good compared to the wizard and witches are, you know, they'll eat your heart, they'll do these horrible things.
And that turn her into an old lady.
Yes, and upon that, she is turned into an old woman, and she is forced to find Howl to turn herself back into the young woman that she is. But it's not going to be an easy process because she can't reveal to Howl that she was cursed.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of giving me Little Mermaid vibes, because that's what happens to Ariel in The Little Mermaid. She can't speak.
Oh yeah, I noticed that a lot. This movie's very in line with a fairy tale. I mean, a lot of the Miyazaki Studio Ghibli films are in line with fairy tales. There's a lot of magic. There's a lot of wonder. I mean, this movie, it entirely is set around Howl's Moving Castle, which is a walking steampunk, like, German castle that marches through the countryside. Like, it's
which is cool. Awesome.
It's kind of cool, I will admit.
And it's also based on the 1986 novel by the same title by Diane Wynne Jones. And it was kind of cool that he made this movie based off the novel, and he took it to her first and showed it to her and said, you know, here, I want you to see my interpretation of your art. And she was just like, this is fantastic.
Do you know much about the book? Like, the difference between the book and the movie or anything like that?
I don't know too much. It's just, I know that the book doesn't focus on the war as much as the film does. Mm-hmm. The book focuses more on Howl and his characteristics and who he is. So it would be interesting to read the book and see
where it's different.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know, I guess production-wise, because Miyazaki, he directs this right after Spirited Away.
Yeah.
When he wins his first Oscar.
Yes, he won for Spirited Away.
And he decides to make this movie because he's really anti the Iraq War and, all that stuff. And he's like an anti-war person in general. Mm-hmm. So he's making this movie, and his philosophy is, I'm about to make a very expensive passion project that will sink my company, but I want to make it. And I think it's the most financially successful Ghibli film.
I believe so, and it was also nominated for an Oscar. It lost to Wallace and Gromit.
I mean, the masterpiece of Wallace and Gromit.
I mean, it is the one with the were-rabbit, so that is a really good one.
Oh, I mean, I'm sorry, Miyazaki, you were in a stiff year.
But
I'm not even being facetious. Wallace and Gromit rock.
I do love Wallace and Gromit, but, with this being my first time seeing the movie, knocks it out of the park.
Oh, yeah, I think it's strong. I think Miyazaki's themes are definitely written on the table. I mean, Howl is a pacifist character. The entire film is revolving around ending a military conflict in, I'll say, a kind of a hand-wavy way, because, like, the Mr. Turnip turns out to be a prince all along. And I'm like, but where did this come from?
I love Turnip Head.
I know, Mr. Turnip Head, which is the scarecrow for anybody out there. It's revealed at the end of the movie that he's actually the long-lost prince of the kingdom that started this whole war, and I don't know if I just checked out during the exposition dump that set that up, but that just, like, happens. Then the war's over.
I mean, I thought it was, like, an extension of Howl, so he was just kind of like, hey, I'm gonna put myself in these situations where Sophie has to help me, and it's like...
Judge her character
and see who she is as a person, and when she helps him, it's kind of like, okay, he's going to do whatever he can. He's going to provide her with shelter. He's going to find, her shawl. He's going to keep her safe, essentially. So that's why I thought, I'm like, is this Howl in his own way of kind of testing her? And it's like, no, Howl's the moving castle.
Yeah.
I'm like,
and Mr. Turnip and Sophie is Mr. Turnip's true love, and true love's kiss broke his curse. And then she's like, sorry, I'm not even interested. I got Howl over here. And then he just...
But it's even...
He just fucks off. He just fucks off into the hills.
It's the Witch of Waste where she's like, sorry, homeboy, I'm the one that cursed you, but these two together are really cute, and I stand them, so I gotta tell you, go back home, you'll find the right girl someday.
Look, I'm just pointing out that the movie is imaginative as hell, but there's some plot beats that have questionable execution. The movie's still good. I'm not gonna hate on it. It's just there's some questionable beats.
Just saying, I'm here for Howl and Sophie. I mean, I can't picture Sophie and Mr. Turnip's moving castle.
I'm just saying this is really Sophie's choice right here. Howl or Mr. Turnip,
You've been dying to say that, haven't you?
You have no idea. As soon as I realized the main character's name was Sophie, I'm gonna slide it in. I'm gonna baseball slide that reference in somewhere. But that's like the gripes of the movie is, okay, I think the pacing is a little slow, but you do admit, like, you see where I'm coming from, where some plot beat executions are a little funky to get the point across.
Yeah, I guess, but I mean, not enough to rile me up like they're riling you up.
I'm not riled up. I'm not nearly riled up.
I mean, this is the second time you've brought up the prince. You're like... He was this long-lost prince. Oh my god!
Never mentions it.
And then he doesn't even get the girl. Oh my god!
What is this? He's been cucked. But
I mean, she took his help, but it doesn't mean oh, I gotta go fall in love with you because you helped me. You brought me my shawl back.
Magic has dictated that she is his true love, and they're like, I know she's your true love, judged by the mystics of magic, but there are plenty of fish in the sea, bro. What's it got to magic, though? Like,
or true love in a sense of, like this kind of friendship way. It doesn't have to be a romantic thing.
I'm just saying, Sophie was like, let's just be friends, man. Like, it's cool. I got Howl over here. But that's besides the point. That's a whole thing that's just
eating Dean away.
It's eating me away, but it's not detracting from the whole movie. It's just kind of funky. But like I was saying, so this is made right after Miyazaki makes Spirited Away. This is his blank check movie. He's like, all right, I have the Hollywood clout. I made us plenty of money. I get to make whatever I want. He makes Howl's Moving Castle. And when you watch this film, were you getting this as a anti-war, like Iraq war movie kind of thing? Because that's really where the themes were laid out. Like, I think that was intention when he was making it.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that it was anti-war. It's just I didn't know how close to home it was when it was just like, oh, okay. It's like, yeah, I could totally see that being, the invasion into Iraq and seeing everything happen. I'm like, it makes so much sense, given the time period that this happened.
Yeah, the movie comes out in 2004.
2004, Spirited Away came out in 2001 when, 9/11 and everything happened. So it's like, yeah, I could see him.
Everything lines up just right.
Everything lines up. And I mean, that also, goes into his backstory of being born basically into war and having to flee his home a couple of times because, they're just dropping bombs on, where he lived. So it's like, yeah, I could see how he's grown up very anti-war and how he would want to turn it into a way where his characters are the same way and they just want peace.
Yeah, and I think that's really the beauty of a lot of his work, and this movie in particular, where a lot of the characters feel like extension of him.
Yeah.
And his creative voice and also his, like, life. Probably the biggest one was My Neighbor Totoro, because it's a lot more of a direct parallel of parts of his life.
This him, with his mother and seeing it with this way, it's like, his, fleeing home and kind of finding a more beautiful place to live. Like when Howl takes Sophie to his home and it's just peace until the ships show up.
Yeah, until he sees the fighter planes coming overhead beyond the horizon. And it is an interesting thing, because I really do think that the film's pacifist message is pretty strong. Like, Sophie tries to resolve almost all conflicts in the film by appealing to, by, like, the people's hearts and their sense of humanity, and she's not fighting anybody. What is it, when she needs Howl's heart from the Witch of the West, she doesn't, like, just, steal it from her. She asks her and hugs her and appeals to her, like, sense of humanity, and that's what prevails through.
Yeah, and that was so...
Even though the Witch of the West is a total bitch, she cursed her.
I mean, I think that was the most shocking to me, seeing just how empathetic Sophie could be towards her after she's the one that cursed her and basically drove her out of her home because, you can't go to sleep one night and then suddenly you're older than your mother. And it's like,
much older.
Totally normal, nope, that's, it's fine, it's cool. But it's like, I was so, I think mystified would be the word, because it was just like, this woman has done you wrong and done a lot of people wrong, but you were just so empathetic towards her. You're taking care of her because basically she's this feeble old woman that can't really do anything for herself, and you kind of see the regret where she's like, I can curse so many people, but I don't know how to correct my curses. And it's like, one, how do you not know how to reverse your own curses?
Just saying, the movie's great, but there are points that are questionable.
But
how is she the worst witch in all of cinema?
But I have to, I have to love the Witch of the Waste because she's voiced by Lauren Bacall.
Of course.
It's like, oh my god, direct line to my heart.
Oh yeah,
Mrs. Bogey.
Yes, we understand. You love classic Hollywood, and she is an epitome of classic Hollywood.
Yes, she is. Rest in peace. She just recently passed away.
Wait, what?
Yeah, she passed away a few years ago.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like a couple months. I'm like,
no.
Wait a minute, how old was she?
No. She passed away in 2014.
What the fuck? Because I know Humphrey Bogart passed away in like the 60s.
Yeah, he passed away a lot sooner, but he also had throat cancer, so...
How old was Lauren Bacall? We're about to get on a tangent. How old was
she passed?
Yeah.
89.
Really?
Yeah, so she lived...
How old was she when she was married to Humphrey Bogart?
Let me see if I can find Bogey. Sorry, guys. We're gonna jump into old Hollywood.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Old Hollywood podcast, where we talk about old Hollywood and old Hollywood only. But
let's see. Bogey died in 1957 at age 57.
Wait. 50... So, he was born in 1900, and Lauren Bacall...
He was born 1899.
Also, good on him. So, in Lauren Bacall, she had been born what, then? In
1924.
Wow, okay. That's weird, right?
Yeah,
is that weird? Like a 24-year age difference? Is that...
I mean, we've seen it before. But
don't get me wrong. Like it was a whole different time.
It was a different time, but they also complemented each other really well.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
so that's why it's kind of like not like a this is
This is a little weird, he's 87 and she's, 21.
Yeah, it's nothing like that. It's just, they've both grown up in the business, and it's been this thing of, okay, we're gonna play, in the same movie together, and it's like, oh, hey, you two, work really well together. We get each other. And, I mean, that's kind of what it takes us to, Sophie and Howl, where it's just, they don't know each other, but it's like, they just kind of fit together.
Yeah, I mean, Howl's being played by Christian Bale, and
dude, Christian Bale
coming back here. So I like Christian Bale as an actor. I think he's a wonderful actor. He's doing this in between The Machinist and Batman Begins, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct, and he actually saw Spirited Away when it came out in 2001, and he's like, if they do another movie, I'm in.
Yeah,
and I don't think he was expecting to get the lead role.
I remember he just wanted to be in a Miyazaki film, like doing the dub work, what have you. But he's going for a particular performance as Howl, right? Kind of like a melancholy kind of vibe. That's what I got for like a lot of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, we get melancholy. We also get a bit of a teenage boy, which was hilarious.
Yes, which
I wasn't expecting it.
It's weird when I hear Christian Bale behind it, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to disparage him as an actor, but I don't know if was it a miscast for him? Because I think he could have gotten a better a better fit for Howl.
No, I think it worked really well. I think that he is Howl.
You think so?
Definitely. And I mean, I loved that we also get a Batman tie-in to this movie.
Well, I mean, obviously, we just finished Batman month. Have to get into more Batman.
Well, exactly. And it's also National Superhero Day today, so we kind of have to talk about Batman today.
Well, okay, but before, we go on, I just want to point this out. My thing is I feel Howl's voice just sounds so much older than he is animated to be.
But do we know how old he is?
Well, that's the thing. I'm not really sure, but his character, like his model and whatnot, and hearing a grown man's voice out of it just threw me.
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe like Joseph Gordon-Levitt probably would have, like his voice probably would have fit a little bit better, or, I mean, how old was James McAvoy when this? No, he would have been in like his 20s or something. That might have been another thing to go with. It's just, I feel like Christian Bale's voice has a little too much bass for Howl, as it were.
But that's what I was kind of lost on. I'm like, okay, we see Howl as a child, and, when he becomes a wizard, and it's just like, well, how long has he been a wizard? How long have him and Calcifer been, tied together?
Played by the great one, Billy Crystal.
Yes, which was just like, I loved Calcifer from seeing him from the memes and everything, and so I'm like, I couldn't wait to see him in this, and I was just like,
Calcifer,
absolutely love him.
Billy Crystal is by far the best in this movie.
I love him so much.
Him as Calcifer is like the best casting, perfect for this movie, like by far. I feel everyone else is doing a good job. Christian Bale, whatever. I think he's doing a good performance. It's just his voice is weird with the animation, and that's again a gripe that I have that no one else has to agree with.
I was gonna say, I think that's only you, because I really don't have an issue with his voice. I think his voice and the art suits each other. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I liked seeing him kind of shift where, he's either, kind of the charming, charismatic Howl to, basically the emo boy that kind of just, melts away.
You love your emo boys in your movies. I do
love my emo boys. And then I love him when he's, he comes back from the fight and he's still in his like bird form. Yeah,
which is super cool.
Yeah,
because it turns into a Cronenberg body horror flick like halfway through this movie.
Oh yeah, and we see his room and it's just loaded with things on the walls and his bed. But when he's in his bird form, Sophie's just walking down this long, basically tunnel like to get to his nest. Mm. And then that's when we get the Batman voice where he's just like, "Stay away, Rachel! Rachel!" And I was just like, I was just like, God. Yes! But
it's true, he turns into Batman!
He does, and
Except he's Birdman!
He's Birdman, which is also a tie-in to Michael Keaton, who was the Birdman.
That movie didn't even come out yet. But, yeah.
It's all connected, man. But
This is why we're not allowed to give you red yarn and a cork board. You start connecting weird stuff.
Soon. But yeah, that is my tie into Batman, because when he got the role for Batman while he was doing the voice work with this.
Yeah.
So that was him practicing his Batman voice before he actually went in and filmed.
Is that real?
Mm-hmm.
Was he actually like doing this and he was testing the voice for Batman?
Yeah. It's like, I'm here, I'm doing the ADR work, and he's like, well, let me see if I can find my sound for when I go in and I be Batman. And that's why it's like, once you hit that scene where he's telling her to go away, it's like, oh shit, that's Batman. And that's Batman before Batman Begins.
That's cool. That's actually okay. I know some of the Easter eggs you bring in are a little suspect, but that's a good one. I like that one.
You just have a problem with Easter eggs. You don't like eggs.
Well, not a fan. Maybe you just scramble them up, put some cheese on there, salt and pepper, a lot of Tabasco.
Hey, if you want me to make eggs for you, maybe you should buy me the calcifer pan.
The calcifer pan.
They sell it, and it's got calcifer's little, like, not embroidery. It's like when you do it with metal.
Etching?
Yeah, they have the etching of calcifer on the bottom of the pan.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
I've been wanting it, but I was like, I need to see the movie first before I buy it and be like, oh, you love calcifer? Yeah, but I don't know what he's like. And I was just like, now I get, may all your bacon burn. I was like, okay, I get it now. I get it.
Oh,
so
man.
if you want to buy me the pan, I won't stop you.
No worries. We'll go to box lunch, and then you can make me breakfast. But
definitely bacon.
Howl's Moving Castle, like, talking about like the cast in here, because I think this is a pretty solid cast. Also, a surprisingly full cast. At least for like the American dub, because that's what we watched.
Yeah, we did. I mean, we have Blythe Danner, who plays Madame Suleiman. We have young Sophie, who's played by Emily Mortimer. I know you were looking her up.
Because her name sounded so familiar, and her face looks familiar, but I do not recognize her from anything.
Well, you might recognize her from Scream 3.
Wait a minute.
She's the one that wins the part of Sydney when they're remaking Stab.
That's why
5
she looks
or
so
4.
familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what the hell? So, all right, another tie-in.
Yeah, we have Josh Hutcherson, who was in The Hunger Games, who plays Markle.
Yeah.
Which I love Markle. I thought he was so funny that he transforms himself anytime he goes to open the door. He goes outside, he's like, oh yeah, I look like a gnome, I'm gonna walk around outside.
Well, that's the Miyazaki bag of tricks where he has the child character that's way invested into the wonder of the world.
Well, that, and he's also practicing to be a wizard. So it's kind of like, okay, let me pretend that I'm an adult when I'm outside, but really, Hal's got a kid in here.
Also, the cast is great, but I think I just brought that up. The Miyazaki bag of tricks, because when he was making this, he viewed it as a risk because, he's gonna talk about some different themes and things like that, and he's like, oh, this is gonna be a different direction than the whimsy of stuff I've done before.
Yeah.
But is this that different than the other Miyazaki films we've seen so far? Because it still feels very much, Studio Ghibli, like, this is a family affair. This is, like, a lot of, like, the tropes and things we've seen in his past films still show up in here.
Yeah, but I mean, in the past ones we've seen, they're all kind of different, because we have our family ones that kind of stay tied to their family, like,
Totoro?
Like Totoro, Chihiro, she goes back to her family, and Spirited Away, but at the same time she also kind of makes her own makeshift family with everybody that she meets in oh my god, I can't think of
the bathhouse.
The bathhouse, there you go.
Which I think that's a thing in a lot of his movies is, you have your family and then you have the family that you create.
And that's what we get in this movie, where Sophie, she was still surrounded by family, but she was just kind of, I think maybe in her grief over losing her father. Mm-hmm. And that's why, her mom and the other girls are like, come out, we're going to go celebrate. The soldiers are home. And she's just, no, I'm good. I'm going to stay here and I'm going to continue to work. And then she leaves and goes on her own.
Which is another thing that ties into the Miyazaki, like, oeuvre, as it were. See, I used the $3 word that day.
You used like a $15 word. I don't know if we could afford that today.
I know. But that ties into a lot of things in the film where there's usually a thing that happens in his movies where one of the parents is, like, not there. Either they're sick, dead, unattentive, what have you. And it's the same thing in the Disney films, right? Yeah. Where, what happened to the parents? Oh, they dead, Or if a parent is not dead at the beginning of a Disney film, they will possibly be dead at the end of the Disney film.
It'd be like that sometimes.
It'd be like that sometimes. I mean, the whole thing of Spirited Away is her parents, they're not dead, but they are disappeared for the film, for like the vast majority of it. In this, her father dies, and her mother is like checked out. She's off, gallivanting with a new beau and figuring out life. And
the sister is, doing her own thing. And
she's left alone.
She's left alone, and Hal's basically built his own family with, Markle, and now it's kind of like, okay, we're going to incorporate old Sophie into our family.
I just realized Miyazaki makes films about and for latchkey kids.
Yes, I am a latchkey kid.
As many are. But kids who are really, like, they're left to their own devices, they're very imaginative, and they're creating these worlds to, live in because there's not much to do. You're alone a lot of the time.
Yeah.
That's the same thing with, the creator of, like, Legend of Zelda and Super Mario. He was the same way. And he was talking about, when he created Legend of Zelda. I'm sorry I forget his name. He basically made the world of Hyrule in his backyard because he didn't have, like, brothers and sisters, and his parents left him alone a lot of the time.
Yeah.
That's the same with, the guy that made Metal Gear Solid. I'm sorry I forget all of your names. He was also a latchkey kid, but he made his world in, like, action movies. That's why all of Metal Gear Solid is, like, based on Escape from New York, Dirty Harry, all that stuff. So
all the movies you love.
Oh yes. I'm gonna figure out his name by the end of this podcast, and I will shout him out. I swear. Hideo Kojima. Hideo Kojima is my boy. I swear to God. I think we would get along great. We just talk about John Carpenter movies all the time.
I mean, who wouldn't want to talk about John Carpenter movies all the time?
Oh, dude, so good. That man had a run better than the 90s Lakers. But I'm just saying that I think that's a key element of Miyazaki films, and this film in particular is he's making films for kids about the worlds he would imagine kids would enjoy to be in.
Yeah.
And I think that's where this movie is his step out of that, where this is a world where, it's like this fantastical world and all this stuff, but he corrupts the world with war and makes it a world that kids shouldn't have to be in.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. I rounded it about. I'll interrupt you one more time.
You'll keep interrupting me. I know that's a thing. So, I mean, that's kind of, what happens in this movie, because the world is very much interrupted with war, and that's our world, where, there's children living in war zones. I mean, just like the war in Ukraine. You have these kids that are here, they're not asking for this, but they're living through it. And that's kind of what we're seeing in the movie. And Howl's able to kind of, escape whenever he can, but ultimately, he can't. He's got to actually come head to head with it.
He chooses the path of just least resistance. He's like, I will just not participate and not acknowledge it and just run away from it until it's at his front door, and then he has to. That,
and because he has Sophie in his life, and he's like, I finally have something that I want to fight for.
And I think that's a beautiful thing that the film does, which I think it does very well. But where do we want to slide this train now?
I don't know. I feel like we're going in every other direction because we're just so excited to talk about this movie.
I mean, overall, I really did enjoy the movie. I think people get the misconception that, Dean has a gripe about a movie, that means he hates it. No, I like the movie. It's just I can acknowledge when there's things that are, I don't know, a little weird or awkward, but I still like it overall.
I mean, Dean gripes about everything.
I do. I'll gripe about the weather on a sunny day. It's too sunny outside. It's far too chipper.
Old man Dean.
The yelling at clouds. The clouds are too blue, and in those, the sky's too bright.
Yes, but, I know. What about art direction in this movie?
Oh, I loved it. Like, this is, like, I like Spirited Away the most because I think that's like the best movie, like the best story and stuff. I really dig that one. But in terms of the production design and how the world looks, I loved Howl's Moving Castle. This mix of steampunk and like mid-century Europe and like
the Swiss
Alps, and also it's this weird fantastical high magic folklore stuff going on. I loved this. This looked so cool. I wanted to live in Howl's Moving Castle.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Sophie City was actually based off of Colmar, France, and it's close to the Germany border, and I pulled it up on Google Maps just to see what it looked like, and I was like, oh my god, like, yeah, that's where she lives. And, like, just cobblestone streets, and there's kind of like tie-in with Venice, because there's canals and there's boats going down the canals, and it's just like...
Did Miyazaki just, like, take pictures and trace it? Is that what it looked like?
Well, from what I've heard about Miyazaki, he goes to locations and he'll just sit there and he'll observe. He's an observer, so it could be a thing where, I don't know how long they go and do this, if it's weeks or a month, just soak up a location, and that's what it feels like in this movie. It's just like...
I'd be interested to know that, actually, because I'm very ignorant about the production time it takes for animation. Because how I think animation works, and at least what I've been told, is that you storyboard everything, and storyboarding is the movie. Yeah. Because animation is like, once you get the storyboards done, then that's basically the movie. You just animate it, right? Yeah. You do all the in-betweens, you detail everything out. But I wonder how much pre-production goes into it, because you have to not only like have a script, but you have to figure every frame out, and there's no, oh, we'll figure it out on the day.
Yeah.
And your like location scouting could be like Google image searching, or Miyazaki, I guess, who goes to these real places and just sketches everything around him. I wonder how long that is, because this is a 3-year gap between Spirited Away and Howl's Moving Castle release.
So it's probably about a 3-4 year process.
You think it's that long?
Yeah,
I mean, I know he's meticulous, but a 3-year turnaround?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's kind of up there with stop motion animation that takes about 3 years.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think it's probably in the same wheelhouse. But I was watching a documentary about Miyazaki, and he was saying that, like, when he comes up with his ideas, it's not in the traditional sense where he comes up with a story. He'll, like, draw a character, and he'll be like, okay, I want to do something with this character, but I'm going to shelf it until I come up with the concept. And it's like he draws out the entirety of the story, and it's like, okay, we got it.
Yeah, I think, was it Spirited Away that didn't have a script? He would just show up each day of production, and they would just kind of figure it out as they went along. Or was it the one with the flying? That wasn't Kiki. Was it Kiki's? That was...
You mean Porco Rosso?
Was it it might have been. I think it was either Kiki's or Porco's where he didn't have a script. He literally just built the story as it went along.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Which, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, that's genius level work. Like, the guy is a master of his craft.
Oh, absolutely.
But I'm just, like, curious. It's like three years of detail-oriented animation, and that's how long this takes. Man, it's a monumental task.
Oh, absolutely. And the fact that he still wants to draw everything. I mean, everything's animated, but he makes sure that everything's drawn first. Is he one of the last holdouts for traditional animation? I believe so.
Yeah, because I know there's a lot of people that, their shows are traditionally animated, but it's, you draw a frame and then you upload it in the computer, and then the computer helps you do everything. But I think his is, they draw every frame, like hand draw every frame.
Yeah, they hand draw every frame, and I think it's only him that's doing it now. He has the animators that are kind of like,
they do the in-betweens.
They do the in-betweens, but he's like, no, like the backgrounds, he's like, I'm still doing those, and I'm going to do them my way, and I mean, it stands out. Yeah, and actually, if he's doing it traditional animation, that makes sense, because have you ever seen the TV show, Venture Brothers? I haven't. Okay, I love that show, by the way. It's a great show. I think it ran for like 6-7 seasons, and it's some of the best, like, TV ever. But those guys did it classical, like, hand-drawn animation where they did every frame, and it was old cell animation, all this other stuff, because it's based on those old Johnny Quest cartoons. Yeah. It's kind of a send-up to those Johnny Quest, Adventure, Hanna-Barbera, stuff like that. But it was great because that show was on, I think, Adult Swim for like 15 years, and it had 6 seasons because they would take like 2-year breaks to hand animate everything, so it took forever. Yeah. So I guess that does make sense if he's doing it like that. Yeah, 3-year production times make sense. So everybody, I've come around to it. Yeah, 3 years, totally fine. You do you, man. I know. But now that we're back, I have another Easter egg for you.
Another one?
Another one.
Another one?
Another one.
All right. Another one.
So, we were talking about how we have, a Batman tie-in to this movie.
Yes.
Do you actually know that there's another Batman tie-in into the Miyazaki world?
Into the Miyazaki world?
Mm-hmm.
Michael Keaton voiced somebody?
That's right.
Oh, shit. I'm good at this game. Who?
Porco Rosso.
That's Michael Keaton?
That's Michael Keaton.
Fuck yeah, Michael Keaton. Let's go.
And this is in 1992.
Oh, so wait, that's like right after Batman Returns, right?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, well, all
so
right.
Full on Inception. We've got our Batman.
Batception.
Batception.
All right, cool. Okay, back to Howl's Moving Castle. Sorry, everybody, we're going on these little tangent spikes.
We have to.
But I guess Howl's Moving Castle. Where do you want to go? Like, how do you like the film? Because you're a big Miyazaki fan, right? Ever since we started the anime month,
yes, which
tradition, you were all in.
Kiki's Delivery Service hooked me in, and I've been slowly watching the movies. I'm trying to just watch them here on the podcast so I don't burn through all of them.
Yeah.
Because I have a feeling I'm going to sit there at home and just be like, okay, well, I finished this one. Let's go, through the rest of the catalog. But
I mean,
this movie, I've been hooked with this movie since I heard the score. Mm. And I think that's a big thing that we should talk about with this movie because the score is so beautiful.
It's really pretty. Who did the score?
Let me see. It's Joseph. What is your name? Because he does most of the scoring for Miyazaki.
Really?
Or all of the scoring.
Joseph Leone. Joseph Zimmerman.
I thought you had it pulled up. I'm over here.
No, I'm just making movies. Joe Hisaishi.
Is it?
I'm probably mispronouncing the shit out of it.
Joe Hisaishi? But yeah, I think
Good old Joey.
But yeah, he's I think he's like Miyazaki's Danny Elfman, where they've, worked together and he scores all the music for his films. And I think back when I watched Kiki, like a year or two ago, whenever we started Anime Month, yeah, I was just like, wow, his music is great. I gotta listen to the rest of it. And I remember hearing the music from Howl's Moving Castle. What is it? Merry-Go-Round of Life, or I can't think of the name of that song.
I know the score in this is really pretty.
And I listen to it all the time. You'd think I'd have it in there.
Well, I think that's a key thing, especially in animation, but in all film in general, is music can communicate things that visuals sometimes cannot.
Yeah.
I think Andrei Tarkovsky, the director of Stalker, Solaris, Andrei Rublev, very famous Russian filmmaker, his philosophy was, when I couldn't communicate an emotion through the visual medium, I would bring in music. Yeah. So that's why a lot of his movies are really stark. There's not a lot of music, or not even a lot of sound in a lot of his films. But when there's music that comes in, it's like this cathartic release a lot of the times. Another example is Sergio Leone and Ennio Morricone. Sergio Leone used to say that, look, they say I direct melodramas. No, I do not direct melodramas. Morricone gives me the mellow, and I provide the drama. Together we make melodramas. Yeah, that's the thing. Music and film, they go hand in hand, or sound film.
Yeah, and that's how I feel with this film, because it is Merry-Go-Round of Life. I had
you got it? You
felt
it?
I felt it, but I felt a little like, maybe it's something else. But, that's how we're introduced into the movie. Mm-hmm. That's the music that we hear when we see the moving castle, amongst
those beautiful landscapes.
Yeah, the landscapes, the mountains behind him, and we have the sheep herder that's walking by, and you see the person waving to the castle.
And it plays in when we're going over the canal and we're in this town.
It's very soft until we, have Sophie and Howl together when they're running away from the Witch of the Waste creatures, and they start flying together, and he's like, okay, he's like, just like walk, like they're walking on air, and that's when it really swells, and it's just like, oh wow, I could see that this is their love theme, basically.
Yeah.
Because before it's a much softer piece, but once the two of them connect, it's like, okay, like everything makes sense now, the orchestra kicks in, it's very beautiful.
Oh, yes, I do. I think that's a key in, honestly, a lot of his movies, because the music is so vital
Yeah.
in a lot of his films. Not only this, I think My Neighbor Totoro is probably, like, the strongest example of how much music goes into that movie.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring that up, because I feel like we have to talk about this, since we're talking about Miyazaki.
Yeah.
So, at the Academy Museum,
Yes.
until June of this year, they have a Miyazaki exhibit open, and you can't record, you can't take any pictures in there. So it's, you kind of get glimpses of what you're about to walk into, and it's like, it's a full-blown experience that you're going into.
Oh, yeah, we've gone twice, I think.
Yeah, we've gone twice, and didn't really know what to expect. But I mean, right as you walk in, they have it set up as Totoro's forest.
Yes.
And they kick on the music, and there's, like, the wind rushing through, and it's just like, wow, you're making me feel everything that I feel when I watch this movie. And it's just like, I think, being able to walk in there with the feeling of walking through the forest, that would be something, but to have the music, I'm like, that just really encapsulates that moment of, wow, I'm actually in one of these movies, and I don't want to leave.
Yeah, and it's so powerful. I really do think the score of this film is very good. This is a score you can listen to on its own and still get a good feel of the movie.
Yeah.
Where else are we going here? What else do we got?
Let's see. We've talked about the art, we've talked about the music.
Talked about the actors, talked about the design, talked a lot about the director.
We should probably talk about the characters, because they don't change, but Sophie makes the biggest change.
Yeah, I mean, saying they don't change is, like, Sophie has a big transformation.
But I mean...
And she's the main character, and
but
I think Howl even has a little transformation.
He does, but I mean change as in, we keep adding in more characters. The cast kind of stays a little on the smaller side. Because we have, like, the introduction of the king and the queen. Later
sorry.
On.
I was on a totally different thing when you meant change. I thought you meant they have no character arc.
No. They have character arc. It's just, we don't have, like, okay, they're introducing another character and another character.
Yeah, no, the core cast is pretty tight. It's Howl, it's Sophie, it's Markle, and Calcifer, and the Witch of the Waste, yeah. And that's the core group of characters we go with, and the movie really kind of focuses in on Sophie. She's like our protagonist. She's the one we're seeing the world from. And she changes a lot from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie.
Yeah. And it's cool to see her character arc, because we have her as who she is for a brief amount of time before she's turned into an old woman. And it's just so interesting to see her, really being this small old woman to... where she starts to work for Howl, and it's just, you see even her posture changes, just like she's getting taller. There's instances where she looks young again, and that's when she's, like, really fighting for what she believes in, so it's weird to see.
When she's confident, then her appearance reflects it.
Yeah, you see who Sophie used to be. So it's interesting to see, the different variations of Sophie.
Not who she used to be, who she could be.
Who she could be, who she is deep down.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have that one scene where she's sleeping, and Hal looks in on her, and he sees her in her younger form. And it's just kind of like, oh, you have been here all along. It's just trying to figure out his curse, and her curse, and Calcifer's curse.
There's so many curses in this movie.
Lots of curses and lots of demons. There should be a swear jar. Yes. And I like that, demon in a sense for, like, American culture, it's like, ooh, like...
the satanic, and it has a big religious connotation.
And over there, Sophie's talking about something that might be with a demon inside it, and she's like, oh, but it might be a good demon. So it's kind of interesting, the contrast.
Well, that's just a difference, because Japanese folklore is really weird, and I think demon might even be a weird translation thing, because... they have, like, spirits. Like, you have good spirits and bad spirits, and demon, I don't know if that's an exact one-for-one of Japanese folklore versus, like, Western Judeo-Christian, like, mythology. I don't know how exact that is, but it is really fascinating because Miyazaki, he's born and raised in Japan, but he loves exploring like Western landscapes or European landscapes. Like much of his films, especially like Kiki's Delivery Service, not Man Neighbor, Howl's Moving Castle. These two very much have a Eurocentric like design to them. Like this movie basically says, "Oh, it's taking place in the Swiss Alps." That's basically where this movie takes place.
Yeah, and it's like I love that we can expand to European culture, but we also stay within the Japanese culture, and it's like I love that
he has a very strong mythology in his work.
Yeah, and I love that we get, you know, lots of spirits in the movies, and it's never like, you know, something to be feared of. It's like, no, that these spirits will take care of you, they'll guide you, like in Totoro.
Yes, like in Totoro.
They protect May.
Even in Spirited Away for most of them.
Yeah.
Like, what is it? Most of the spirits that she encounters are generally good spirits. And then you see, like, the dichotomy of, oh, well, this isn't a bad spirit. It's a misunderstood spirit with no face. And it's a very...
Or, like, the water really spirit that no one wanted to take care of. And
they thought it was a trash spirit.
Yeah, and, you know, basically she pulls... we're going back to, like, Greek mythology. She pulls the thorn out of his side, and it's just, you know... a water spirit that was in danger and has been neglected by so many people, and it's just...
And it ties in so much with this, with this film, because, Calcifer, he's a fire spirit, or a fire demon, right? Yeah,
he's a fire demon, but he's not bad.
He's not, no.
He's good, and it's, you know, interesting to see his relationship with Howl. They're so in tune with each other. And
it's funny, because most of the movie, he musters, you know, oh, I'm a fire demon trapped here by this evil sorcerer. I will escape, and you will rue the day. And as soon as he's free, he's like, where am I gonna go? I kind of like it here.
Yeah, and just like, you know, he's trying to scare Sophie off, and she's just like, all right, well, you keep on trying to scare me. I'm gonna cook breakfast, okay? Or I'm gonna clean up the house. And, you know, he's like, don't touch that, don't move that. And then, you know, he's showing Howl later on, you see, she left the logs right here so I could feed myself. I don't have to rely on anybody else. And it's just like, it's
kindness is a big thing in this movie.
Kindness, it's very cute.
Very cute.
Even though there's, you know, darker tones to the movie, we're dealing with a war, we're dealing with Howl as a character because, you know, he turns into this bird, and Calcifer keeps warning him, the more you do this, it's taking you longer to come back, and eventually you're not going to be able to turn back into a human.
I wonder if that's this is going to get into a weird metaphorical theme. I wonder if that's a metaphor for, like, addiction, like alcohol, drug addiction, you know. Oh, the more you use, the harder it is to come down. But that's going into a really weird adult space that I don't know if this movie is going for. But I think you can read into that. As somebody who's a person of addiction,
or it just could be, you know, any dark path you go down. You know, it's like, okay, maybe able to come back from it easy the first couple of times, but the more you divulge in it, you're not going to be the same. Mm-hmm. And it's, you know, Sophie that's really the one that really has to drag him back and essentially save him.
Yeah, because that's Sophie's arc. She goes from being somebody who prefers isolation, somebody who prefers, you know, being on her own. She is the island.
Yeah.
And by the end of the movie, she realizes that, you know, no one is an island, and she loves this proxy family she created, but not only loves them, she needs them. You know?
And it's not just her that needs them, they need her. You know, we see very much the boys with, you know, oh, we have this girl in the house and she's changing everything around. I mean, we have that with Howl when he finally breaks because she's cleaned up the bathroom and essentially moved his hair products, and now he, you know, his hair is red, and he's just like, you know, how can I live? I don't want to live if I'm not beautiful. And I was just
I'm sorry. Howl is such an emo boy. But he should be working at the Hot Topic at the mall.
I mean, that you know, scene reminded me of you. That'd be you if you're having a bad day, just kind of just like sitting there drooping, and it would have to be me like, okay, Dean, like, we got this. We're gonna, you know, clean you up. You're gonna be okay.
I'm just like, I just want chicken nuggets and go back to sleep.
Chicken nuggets and chocolate milk.
Oh, please, that'd be lovely. But yeah, so Howl's Moving Castle.
But we see, you know, these instances where she's kind of like, you know, disturbing what they're accustomed to. And it's, even Markle, he's kind of like, oh, the grandma's here and she's, moving everything around, and it's towards, close to the climax of the movie where, they have their own house now, and he goes in to say goodnight to her, and he's just like, okay, well, good night. I love you, Sophie. And he gives her a hug, and it's kind of sweet to see
adorable.
This shift where it's just like, okay, I'm a young boy, but I'm trying to be an adult and learn how to be a wizard. And you can see him actually, being able to be his own age. So it's like everybody kind of...
He's a kid that no longer has to be forced to be an adult.
Exactly, and it feels like everybody doesn't have to be these extensions of themselves. They can actually be who they are.
This is a very lovely movie.
It is. Very deep movie.
So, I guess that might lead us into the final thoughts of Howl's Moving Castle. Here at the Film Club. Woo!
I mean, I love this movie. If I loved it just based off the sound of it.
Yes.
Actually going in and having everything together, visuals, the characters. Yeah, I really love this movie. I'm sad that I waited this long to see it.
Yes.
But now I'm going to watch it more often.
Is this a 10 out of 10?
Oh, absolutely. 10 out of 10. I mean, there's so much depth to it. Even, at the end where Howl gets his heart back and he's just like, like, oh, I've got this, I feel terrible. I've got this weight on my chest. And Sophie's like, that's the heavy burden of having a heart. And it's just
it's the heavy burden of caring.
Yeah, it's like, you have all those emotions back. And it's kind of like learning how to feel what you feel. And that it's okay that you have feelings.
This is a real cute movie. This movie's
It
pretty.
is.
Yeah, from the cynical assholes of the world, this is a really fun movie. I think it's really cute. I think there's actually a lot of chewable themes in this movie that even, like, the staunchest of art house crowd can get in on. I think, like, yeah, there's a few beats of it that might irk or might feel weird, but I think the point of the movie shines through everything, and it all is in service of its themes. And I would agree, yeah, like 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 movie. This is a really good movie. 2 thumbs up.
Yeah.
Would recommend.
And it just, shows that Miyazaki not only teaches kids, he teaches adults too. Mm. And I love that he has really strong positive messages in his films. I mean, I can't harp more on, The Witch of the Waste and Old Sophie, how they kind of bicker back and forth with each other. But even when they're going up that huge staircase to the castle, and, Sophie's like, well, haha, I'm old, and look at, I'm kicking your ass going up the stairs. And Sophie, like, you're not going to help her. And it's like, no, we can't help anybody. You got to make the climb on your own. And even though she's been cursed, she goes back down the stairs and helps the Witch of the Waste up the stairs.
Kindness and empathy. It's
exactly
what we need more of in the world.
Yes, we do.
But, next week we're going to talk about something completely different.
Well, I was going to say, don't ask me, because I don't know.
Well, because I made this up. We are going to watch a movie that is possibly the most influential anime film of all time. But it's probably the most important for exposing anime to the Western world.
Okay.
Came out in the 80s. It's based on a phone book length comic book, and it is Akira. And it is a very interesting film. I feel you are going to hate this movie, but you will appreciate the hell out of it.
All right. I don't know what to say. I mean, I thought you were going to hate Batman 66 and you ended up loving it to death. So
I'm hoping we get one of those, because Akira is a very weird movie. It has a horrible English dub and one that's a pretty good English dub. But it's the movie that got people back in the 80s like, oh, anime can be cool. Like, I think this was one of Robin Williams' favorite animated films. I think Samuel L. Jackson enjoys this. Like, famous people like this movie. The Wachowskis who made The Matrix, like, they steal from Akira a lot, and Ghost in the Shell a lot. So, I'm excited. I can't wait to talk about it next week.
I'm excited too. Are we watching dubbed or subbed?
Dubbed, because It's going to be good.
All right, well, let's see how this goes. But if you want to listen to us on a different platform than you currently are, you can find us on Anchor FM, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube.
Yes, you can go to our YouTube channel, The Film Vault. That's right, that's The Film Vault on YouTube, where we post things on the Film Vault YouTube channel. See, I said it 3 times. No excuses for you forgetting about it.
3 times, kind of like Beetlejuice.
Hey.
Does that mean we appear if someone says the Film Vault 3 times?
Maybe if they said the Film Vault 3 times.
Interesting.
Would you say the Film Vault 3 times?
Well, I mean, we're already here. Someone else needs to say it so we could travel.
But yeah, everybody.
But yeah, if you want to listen to us on a different platform, you can find us there. And if you want to follow us on social media, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at The Film Club Podcast.
And with that,
we'll see you next week at The Film Club.
Have a good week, everybody.